You know, the church was kind of like the foundation of my childhood, and we were really involved in the church picnics, the schools, like everything that our church and school did, we were always involved in. And then when I was about 11 years old, my parents got a divorce, and that was kind of like shattered my life, because everything I had learned in the church and about the family through the church was being contradicted through my parents' divorce. I didn't want anything to do with church because I felt like it was all kind of a lie because of what had happened in my parents' relationship. I was what you would call a wild child. The time 17 to 25-ish or so, I was out doing drugs, drinking as much as I could, and you know, that was even after I had met my wife and gotten married. So that behavior continued even during the first parts of our marriage. So I can only imagine how poor of a spouse and father I was during those times, because my priorities were still on drinking and having as much fun as possible and not being devoted to my kids or my wife the way I should have been. She wanted for us to come to church as a family on Mother's Day, and I really didn't want to do it, but she didn't ask for a present, and we were young and we had kids, so if she wanted to go to church and it was free, that's what we were going to do that year. So I ended up coming to church service and hearing Pastor Eric preach one Sunday, and once I heard how he preached and what he was preaching about, you know, and compared it to what I was used to growing up, I was hooked. I really loved how church was done here at Element Church. You know, I continued coming back to Element Church, you know, even times when my wife couldn't attend with me. I wanted more of whatever Pastor Eric was saying. And then I think maybe a month or two into my journey of coming back to church, I remember one of the pastors, it wasn't Pastor Eric, but it was something one of the pastors said, and it really stuck with me. And I ended up giving my life back to Jesus that day at church. And when I did that, I didn't know if it was going to be an easy thing to do, just rededicating my life back to God, because I had been away for so long. The practicality Pastor Eric gives us is just amazing, and I could relate to that with situation or events going on in my life, and I could apply what he was talking about. So I was nervous to come back to church, but I was excited to see what God had in store for me, because this was all new to me, and it was something I'd given up 15 years ago. So I was really excited to start that journey back up with Jesus in Element Church. Once I gave my life to Christ here at Element Church, you know, that hole in my heart became more and more evident of what I was really missing. And I really realized that I needed to prioritize Jesus first, and then the other things in my life would just start to fall into order. When I go back and look how involved my family has been in church and how involved I've been in church, I can see God's hand and blessing all over my marriage, my children's life, and just the people that are around us and that benefit from being in the church. And I've watched children grow up through youth ministries here that have gotten married and continue to serve in church. So I really feel like the Element is just a blessing to anyone that really wants to give it a chance and follow Jesus. And you can really, you know, find your home here at Element.